Today I'm with Nikki Barton, who is a telephone assessor for Citizens Advice on the Isle of Wight. Hello, Nikki.
Hello there.
And thank you very much for coming on this podcast. Perhaps I could just get you to introduce yourself first of all.
Yeah, hi. So as you say, my name's Nikki Barton. I've lived on the island only 2 years, so relatively new to the island, and wanted something to do. And so to explain that a little bit more, I've worked in aviation in Gatwick Airport for over 33 years, so in a corporate environment, pretty lively as an organisation or a place to be. And then when I retired, we moved over to the island because we've got family who live in Ryde with the grandchildren, so it was a lovely way to sort of change our life and the way that we live life. But after about 6 months of living here, decided that actually I'd taken a break. I'd given myself space and time to, sort of adjust to being retired, and actually felt that I still had a lot of skills and knowledge and enthusiasm and effort and energy to put into something. So I started to really have a think about what I might like to do. And I've sort of took a bit of time to actually look at different charitable organisations, places I would like to have volunteered. Unfortunately, I was in a position where I had then the time and opportunity to do volunteering, and I came to pick Citizens Advice,
Right. Because
I felt that one, I didn't know anything about benefit systems, housing, all the things that are really crucial to any community.
Yeah.
And I felt very much on the back foot. So I thought I'll pick somewhere where I could learn a heap of knowledge and information, and at the same time, so it was a real challenge for me, but at the same time provide some help and support back into a local community. And I've found living on the island just transformational in terms of the way I spend my life and our time, but being part of Citizens Advice is actually a completely crucial part of that for me.
Right.
So the discipline of getting up in the morning, getting dressed, coming to the office, learning so much stuff, working with a really great, very thoughtful, caring team. And it's a massive contrast to working in industry and aviation where I guess it's pretty ruthless and cutthroat. And then when you're working in a charity like this where it's incredibly people-centred, I've just learned so much about myself, about what I don't know, but how you best help people. And every time I answer the phone and speak to someone who's local, invariably they'll say, "Oh, are you on the island?" or "I'm pleased you're on the island." And that sense of community and spirit is actually really, really obvious. And I'm really enjoying being a part of that. And it's challenging. I'm going to continue training and learning to become an advisor. So you sort of have an opportunity to progress if you want. But I've been doing the telephone assessing now for since December. So, coming on 8 months. And I still enjoy every time I come in. It's very varied. It's very unusual and unpredictable in that sense, and that's what I really, really like. I like spending my time that way.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to say, what's been the main challenge for you, do you think, or ongoing challenge?
Well, initially, I guess you're creating the face of the charity to the community, and people don't ring up to tell you they're having a good day, and that's something that sort of we always remember, is people are generally ringing you when something disastrous has happened in their life, and it's often their family and the arrangements, and you feel like. So the biggest challenge for me was that I don't know how to help people. I don't know enough information. But you soon get used to the fact that firstly, people are very brave to pick up the phone and call, because it takes a lot of courage sometimes for people to reach out for help. But once they have, and I see the work of the advisors, and you can see that people are helped, and the thank yous and appreciation, and you get lots and lots of repeat callers. So people who have had a service, have had good advice, and then for something completely different, a few years later, will come back and use a service again. So that, I guess that's back to the enjoyment I derive from it. But the challenge is you can't be all things to all people. And I think when you do talk to someone who's in quite a bit of distress, you have to learn to be able to empathise and help them in the right way. And that's sort of quite new and challenging for me. But I'm really enjoying it, and a sense of satisfaction when we finished a day and we've helped quite a number of people.
And you say you're part of a team, so can you sort of tell me a little bit more about how that works? What sort of supervision do you have doing this role?
Yeah, so we have two. So I'm in the office. I come in 2 days a week, and there's always 2 supervisors in the office. So they provide support in lots of different ways. Firstly, technical expertise, so very much the font of sources of information, knowledge, and can help, but also very much more emotional. So if you do have someone who needs that extra bit of thought and care, and I feel overwhelmed by it, then they're there to support me and sometimes take the call over if I'm not as equipped or experienced as they are.
Yeah.
So it's sort of make sure we're in on the right day, we're doing the right hours, we're trained and competent, because the massive emphasis on training, but you do it at your own pace. You learn, and you're very much there to support you. So it's very inclusive, and the office is only sort of 6 of us generally in the office. It's not a big office, but yeah, I'm really enjoying being part of a team again, and that sort of social network that you create with people that you never knew before, and actually are very pleased to be part of it.
Oh, that's great. I was going to say, I mean, what do your sort of friends and family think about you doing this role? Were they surprised when you said you were taking it on?
They were surprised that I wasn't going back into industry. So, but they also knew that I was quite determined and generally been full of energy and a passion to do things well. So they were sort of like, no, that's not really that much of a surprise. So maybe the charity side was a surprise, but not that I couldn't just retire and do nothing. And with the perfect opportunity of time, I mean, and most of us aren't rich with time, but I had the time for the first time in my life to myself, and my husband, and we've so enjoyed being here. And as I say, this is a really cornerstone part of our everyday living now.
That's great. I mean, to a lot of people, it does seem like a very selfless thing to do, especially on a sunny day. Why would you want to come into an office and help other people? Did you want to say any more about that side of things?
I suppose I always had a bit of a thought that I would want to do some sort of support to the community. But when you're in your sort of height of your career, the only thing you really can afford to focus on is that. But I think ultimately I had the opportunity, and I guess I wanted to challenge myself but use this time. And I meet people who have similarly retired and have chosen not to volunteer, and I do quiz them about, well, why wouldn't you? Because you get so much out of it. And we're as busy as we want to be, is my general view of life. We pack our days full of stuff, and but I actually think you can create time. And some of the other volunteers I work with, they do a 3-hour stint, so they'll come in twice a week for 3 hours, and they fit it around their other commitments and social arrangements. But it means we're quite a diverse and sort of in terms of, we don't have a lot in common in terms of our backgrounds and careers, but we have a common desire to create time to come in and do this. So, I guess I like to be busy. I like to be having to juggle things, and this works for me. And it does create, it does stimulate you. And the discipline of getting out of bed and getting dressed and being somewhere actually is good for me.
Yeah.
And I think you don't miss it when you don't have to do it for work. But actually, I quite like that coming back, a little sense of order. Just a couple of times a week is nice. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Nikki, and thank you for being a volunteer.
Thank you very much.
Isle of Wight Volunteer Stories is is a podcast brought to you by the Isle of Wight Volunteer Centre, celebrating the wonderful contribution that volunteers make to island life. We'll be hearing about the different roles and activities that people do, what they get out of it, and what motivates them to start in the first place. Volunteers share some of the highs and lows of their lives, talk about the skills that they learn and the connections that they make on their volunteer journey. We hope this podcast will give you an insight into a world you may not be familiar with, will demonstrate that volunteers come from all walks of life, and perhaps it will inspire you to start your own volunteer story. I'm Sandy Cicognani from Community Action Isle of Wight, and I'll be your host on this podcast. If you would like to find out more about how to volunteer, or if you're an organisation looking for volunteers on the Isle of Wight, please go to our website www.iwvolunteer.org or email us on volunteer@actioniw.org.uk.